Okay, the quote that I chose is to live a creative life, we must lose fear of being wrong. It goes the same quote as we all hear a lot these days, are to not live your life in fear. It can definitely hold you back from doing things, and being scared of the future or being scared of doing something can hold you back from living the life that you want to live, and it can get you nowhere. If you're always fearing about what's going to happen after something, or what's going to happen if you do this, or if I do this, this will happen. If you just predict something, if you predict the future in a negative way, you don't get the experience to live your full life. You miss out on a lot of opportunities just being scared of things. For an example I came up with is answering questions in class. I personally tend to fear that, especially in a classroom setting. I always feared answering questions. I always feared asking questions because I always feared if I get it wrong or if I sound a certain way or something. But over time, I think people tend to realize that it's okay to ask questions in a classroom. That's what the teachers are there for, and if you're wrong, it's okay. Sometimes you're supposed to be wrong, and sometimes you're supposed to not know what to do. You can't live in fear, because then you sit in silence and have no voice, have nothing to stick up for. You have no, like a lot of teachers like to say, it's better to ask questions because somebody could also be in the same room as you, staying silent because they are fearing speaking up and asking something or interrupting something or saying something. It's always better to speak up and be wrong than not speak at all and be scared of what the consequences could be. Another example would be in a relationship. If you're starting a new relationship, you don't want to hide who you are. You don't want to be afraid of how the relationship can go, because you will never know if you just sit in fear. You will never know how things can be or could be if you go on one date with one person and at the end of it you're like, I know that it's just not gonna work out. I know that I didn't really get to know them, they didn't really get to know me, it's just not gonna work out. Or even like before, if you're fearing something, if you're fearing how it's gonna go, it most likely will go bad because you're in such fear of the consequences, or you're in such fear of what could happen, not realizing that you have to live life, and that's what life is for. And you only have one opportunity to do certain things. You only have one opportunity to have a chance to do something. So if you want to start a relationship, if you want to start a new friendship, something, it's always better to go out there and do it and then have learned from it than not done anything and just regretted not even giving something a try. Working towards a new job also can play into this. If you have a job in mind that you want to do, even for a career, it's always better to go out there and do it and try it. Same with applying for a school you may not think you can get into, or even going to school even though you think it might be too hard for you. It's always better to try and say you did it than live in fear that you didn't or won't be able to proceed with it. I think it's always better to live your life as if it's your last day and you just never know what could happen, so take opportunities as much as you can. You cannot live your life in fear of what could happen, because then you'll never get the full experience of what life actually is and what it can bring to you. There's so many amazing opportunities that people, even myself, tend to pass because I am fearful, and I think it's something everyone should work on, and I am myself. You shouldn't always live in fear, no matter what your situation is, no matter who you are as a person. It's always better to live life to the fullest and regret something after. It's always better, instead of regretting it before or not being able to do something, missing out on something or someone or an opportunity that's handed to you or something because you're scared of what could be the consequence, you're scared of what could come after, you're scared of that it could go wrong, because you don't know that it could go wrong until you do it and it goes wrong. But it's better to say, oh, well, at least I did it and I know it didn't work out, than not do it at all.